Grace grew up surrounded by love and laughter, the kind that makes you believe joy lasts forever. Her parents loved and cherished her, giving her the best of everything in clothes, shoes, as well as indulging anything she asked for. But one night changed everything. A truck collided with her parents' car on their way home, taking the lives of the two people who loved her most. The car crash killed her parents, leaving her an orphan at just 10 years of age. Her father's family never supported her father's marriage to her mother, so her birth wasn't celebrated by them, seeing her as a fruit of their son's disobedience. They were never around while she grew up, since her father had isolated himself after marriage. Her father's family took all they could, leaving her to take nothing but a small box filled with pictures of her and her parents. They cast her aside, leaving her grandmother from her mother's side the only one left to take her in. The rich girl became the helper, but her heart stayed kind. She helped her grandmother with the housework, catered to her needs in and out of the hospital even as she grew up. In a strive to make ends meet, she took on several menial jobs, including hawking. As a child, Grace always loved singing, featured in little competitions held in her school, but after her parents' death, she rarely found the need to sing, until one day, while hawking her goods as usual, tired and pained at the low sales, she started to sing her mother's favorite song. Then, like a dream, or an angel just appearing, a white car slowed down in front of her. The windows rolled down. The man introduced himself as a music producer and said he loved her voice and saw the potential she had. He gave her a business card and asked her to call him. Grace, in a state of shock, took it, then watched him drive away. She was initially skeptical as she got home that day, and the card stayed untouched on the living room table for days, until her grandmother was discharged one day and gets home. Then sees the unusual card on the table, asking who the owner was. She tells her grandmother what happened and how she's not sure about it, claiming it could be a scam or worse. Her grandmother, with all her age and wisdom, simply tells her that she's been through so much. Let not the heavens open unto her and she be the one to close the gates herself. Bearing in mind what her grandmother said, she called up the man herself and scheduled a meeting at the man's production studio. Her grandmother wished her luck as she left the following day, and she couldn't help the fleeting thought that maybe things will be better now. Upon getting there, the man let her into the recording studio, and though shy and awkward, her natural talent came through, and she could tell by the man's smile that she had just done something right. The man immediately asked if she had thought about singing as a career, assuring her she'd be a star, even going as far as to invite her to join his recording label, telling her he could give her a record deal. Then came Tari, feeling happy and hopeful. As she left the studio, she bumps into him, immediately apologizing till they both share an awkward laugh. He was the biggest thing in music, and she, a possible upcoming singer, had just made a fool out of herself, or so she thought. After agreeing to take up the record deal, her life went by like a movie. Her success and popularity was instantaneous, and with such success she could finally take care of her grandmother with the money, giving her all she couldn't before to thank her for raising her even when she had nothing. Tari stayed with her though. They had moved from an awkward first meeting to close friends as he helped her navigate the high life, media and all involved. They went to events together and were seen together a lot of times before their fans started posting online that they had to be dating, but the both of them neither denied or confirmed the rumors. On one particular day, she bumped into a woman who turns out to be her father's sister. Her aunt, who had hated her mother and was one of the many relatives happy to get rid of her when her parents died. The woman got on her knees in an attempt to apologize, but Grace told her not to bother as she already forgot all about what they did to her. She told her aunt she was happy and successful and couldn't care less of what happened in the past. The next few years go by. Tari is with her through all this, being her number one supporter, even when her song beat his on the music charts. He stayed forever happy for her, even throwing her a party to celebrate. At the end of it all, he confessed how he feels about her and how much he'd been falling in love with her. Grace had tears in her eyes as she said she feels the same. And after some more time, Tari proposed and she agreed. She and Tari go on to have a huge wedding. Her grandmother there to celebrate her happiness. The road might have been rocky, but the destination was worth it. A year after, they become founders of their own record label. Grace wanting to build something substantial so new talent can easily grow in the music industry, like her. 2 years after, Grace and Tari have been trying for a child, going to several doctors but to no avail. Grace had gone through a lot of miscarriages, each ending in sorrow. Seeing no solution in the country, they go abroad, where the doctor tells them that Grace's womb is fragile and can't hold a fetus to full term. Shocked by this revelation, she called her mother, who was still in the country. Her grandmother consoled her and let her know everything will be fine and that she will carry her baby herself. However, when she eventually gets pregnant, the doctor warns her against carrying the baby herself, suggesting a surrogate who would help her carry the baby to full term to her and Tari. They return to Nigeria through her grandmother's insistence. There she meets her aunt once more in a supermarket, who goes on apologizing again for everything that happened. But Grace assures her she's long forgotten and forgiving. They get to talking and Grace tells her aunt about all that has happened, and her aunt suggests her daughter to be the surrogate. That she will talk to her daughter and make her agree. And though Grace attempts to refuse, her aunt tells her it's to fully clear her conscience by doing at least one good deed for her. Grace's cousin, Rebecca, agrees, and Grace and Tari ensure to pay her handsomely for her help. And the next couple of months go by with Grace taking care of Rebecca, the two of them inadvertently growing closer till the due date. On the date of the delivery, Rebecca is rushed to the hospital. Her aunt, grandmother and Tari, her husband, all waiting. and holding their breath as the hours go by. Eventually, the doctor comes out with a smile, announcing the delivery of a bouncing baby girl. Grace's eyes fill with tears instantly, collapsing in relief against Tari, who holds her tightly, her aunt and grandmother in the back sharing huge smiles. They immediately ask to see Rebecca and the child, but the doctor tells them to wait a couple minutes first, and a nurse will be back to let them know when they can come in. At the chance to finally hold their baby, Tari and Grace have their family complete eventually. They both thank Rebecca and her mother, Grace's aunt, for this great thing they have done for them. They decide to name the baby Sarah, which was Grace's mother's middle name. Tari and Grace shower her with love and gifts, giving her the best of everything. But like life just couldn't give her good things without asking for something in return. One day, while Sarah, now 10, was playing at school, she suddenly collapsed. Getting a call from the school, Grace almost rushed there, but is notified by her teacher that they had called an ambulance and she'd been taken to the nearest hospital. Grace drives there in visible worry and arrives at the hospital to be told that Sarah had been rushed into the ICU and the doctors were doing their best right now. Grace waits in worry till Tari eventually arrives at the hospital, her husband holding her and telling her assurances that their daughter will be fine, till the doctor finally walks out of the ICU asking if they are Sarah's parents. They immediately ask to see their daughter, but the doctor tells them that they can see her but only for a few seconds as she's resting. They walk into the hospital room just to see their little girl with tubes plugged into her body, oxygen masks on her face, and dressed in the dull green hospital gown that washed out her color. Grace's hand covers her mouth as she struggles not to cry, running her other hand over Sarah's forehead. Tari holding her close as he directs her out of the room to see the doctor. The doctor tells them that Sarah has aplastic anemia and that basically her body is not generating enough red blood cells, which is affecting her body, letting them know it's probably a genetic disease that will need a bone marrow transplant. But such a transplant must be from a family member, and that family member has to be compatible. In a state of shock, they both leave the doctor's office, Grace telling Tari that they should both try out, saying if it's a family member, then at least one of them has to be a match. A few days later, the test comes back, but neither Grace nor Tari are a successful match for Sarah's transplant. Grace cries to her grandmother that night, asking why she can never be fully happy, why something must always happen after she's finally started to relax. But her grandmother simply consoles her, apologizing for not having more children as Grace's mother was an only child, that maybe there had been more options for family members who were compatible. Her grandmother also lets her know every life has trials and God would never give his children more than they can handle. So she tells Grace to have faith and God will surely bring some miraculous help their way. Eventually, both her aunt and Rebecca become aware of all that happened. Her aunt offering to speak to her younger brother, also Grace's father's younger brother, about it, vowing to Grace that she will find a donor match for Sarah at all costs. Her dear family home, Grace's aunt, Shade, calls all the family that were responsible for what they did to Grace 25 years ago when they stole her inheritance and threw her out of the house to live with her grandmother at just 10 years of age, and let them know who she now is and how rich and successful she has become. Shade tells them that to atone for their sins, they have to help out Grace now that she's in need. They all frown and are initially reluctant to have anything to do with Grace again, having left all that happened in the past. But a few days after, the same younger brother shows up at the hospital with his daughter, Ayo, who was 11 years younger than Grace, making her 24. They both want to try out to see if they had been compatible for Sarah's transplant. That was the first time Grace was seeing her father's younger brother since that day 20 years ago. The test goes well and Ayo is confirmed to be a valid donor, and the process starts for the surgery. Eventually, the operation happens and Sarah is operated on successfully. After that day, Grace is invited back to the family home, and all the family members who had denied her back apologize, and they finally live in peace, happily ever after. The end.